Hello, this is G. Richard Brooksbank speaking. I want to tell you about my family history. We are of English descent. Squire Brooksbank came over in the 1900s. He was with the Ohio Volunteers, and he is buried down in Springfield, Missouri in the National Cemetery. As is some of the other rest of the family. Jimmy Brooksbank's father is buried down there. He was in the Army, and his wife is buried there in the National Cemetery. Squire Brooksbank was a very, very patriotic man. He fought with the Ohio Volunteers in the early Civil War. My mother and father, my mother is from Springfield, Missouri. My father was there at the same time. They became acquainted. My mother worked at Rogers and Baldwin as a stenographer. She lived with a family of Lippmans. It was Richard Lippman and Aunt Rose Lippman. They were not any relation to us, but they were very kind people and very generous people. They were always looking out to help someone. My mother and father got married back in the 20s, I believe. And my brother, they had 3 children, my brother Howard, myself, and my sister, which is Mary Louise. My father started out with Jones Store Company in Kansas City, Missouri, selling shoes. It was downtown in Kansas City, and one day he went out for lunch and walked down to 12th and McGee, where Katz Drug Company headquarters were located, and he went in there, and he was really amazed at the excitement that was going on and the big sale that they were having. And he talked to Mr. Ike Katz and asked him what was going on. He said, we were having a soap sale. And he said to Ike Katz, well, I sure like the attitude in here and the atmosphere. I'd certainly like to go to work for you. And he was hired by Ike Katz. He worked for them for 9 years, setting up their hospital department and also the tobacco business. But he was always anxious for something new. And when Crown Drug Company, there were 3 drugstore chains in Kansas City at the time. Crown Drug Company was number 2. They were having trouble. Mr. Payne and Mr. Evans were the principals in that business at the time. And they hired my dad away from Katz Drug Company. And my dad put him on the map. He was a merchandiser. He gave away a car a month on a punch card, where people came in and bought goods from Crown Drug Company and got their purchases punched out, and then they could sign their name to the card, and then there was a drawing. That went over like a skyrocket. But he was still anxious to have his own drugstore, and so he went down to Coffeyville Independence in Chanute, Kansas, and went in and bought in with 3 existing pharmacies. They were running, and one in Chanute, Kansas was doing very well, but Coffeyville and Independence didn't like the cut rate business, and he was forced to sell out, and he came back to Kansas City. At that time, my mother started writing to different locations to see where we could find a location that would be suitable for my dad's employment. He wound up with G.O. Guy in Seattle, Washington. We moved out there in '39. And I started high school at 12 years of age. And we were there a year, and Fred Meyer in Portland, Oregon heard about him, and he was having a nervous breakdown. So he called, and my dad went to work for him. And Mr. Fred Meyer was the originator of the one-stop shopping concept. He actually had everything under one roof or one location. He had a full-line drugstore, hardware store, grocery store, automotive, men's clothing, women's clothing, later branched off into real estate and even into banking. That is, later on, the business was sold out when Fred Meyer died, and it's now under the guidance of Kroger Company. Anyway, that was the originator of the one-stop shopping concept in America. But my father, well, I'm getting ahead of myself, actually.
Okay, got it.
When I graduated from high school from Portland, Oregon, in '39, my dad sent us back east as a graduation gift, my brother and I. We went from Portland, Oregon to Kansas City by rail, and then from there on up to New York City, where we were feted by his business associates. And then from there, we went up to Andover, Massachusetts, and went to prep school up there for the summer. It was a wonderful experience. I'll never forget it.
Okay,
Coming
stop.
back, where we went on back through Kansas City. No, we went back through Chicago to Portland. And after graduating early, I went down to the University of Oregon. Got a year in as the war was on then. And I enlisted on August the 14th of 1944.
Okay, stop.